During a recent interview, Bill Gates would not commit to voting against Donald Trump in 2020. And the response from both Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders couldn't be more different. So we'll get to that. First, here are Bill Gates' comments reported on by Mediaite. Speaking at a forum in New York with New York Times writer Andrew Ross Sorkin, Microsoft founder Bill Gates came off as far from enthusiastic about Warren 2020. Speaking about the wealth tax, Gates said there's a limit to what he would be willing to pay. Quote, "If I had to pay $20 billion, it's fine," Gates said. "But when you say I should pay $100 billion, then I'm starting to do a little math about what I have left over." And despite being a vocal Trump critic in the past, Gates would not commit to supporting Warren to defeat the president. Quote, "I'm not going to make political declarations," Gates said, "but I do think no matter what policy somebody has in mind, whoever I decide will have the more professional approach in the current situation probably is the thing I will weigh the most, and I hope that the more professional candidate is an electable candidate." So Bill Gates will not commit, at least publicly, to voting against Donald Trump. Now, by claiming he doesn't want to make any political declarations, he's inherently being political here. If you can't say publicly that you will vote against Donald Trump after everything he has said and done, then you either care more about your own wealth and power or you are afraid of what Donald Trump may do in retaliation if you come out publicly against him. Which, honestly, this is an area where Trump sort of has the right approach, as he has many people in power afraid of him. Now, they're afraid of him for different reasons than why they'd be afraid of Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren, but they're afraid of him. This is what you want people in power to feel when it comes to the president. You want a Bernie Sanders presidency. You want billionaires to fear Bernie Sanders, because then you know that Bernie is actually on the side of people. If billionaires are not fearful over their wealth under a Bernie Sanders presidency, then Bernie isn't fighting hard enough. And the people around him, the movement, isn't fighting hard enough. So Bill's reaction here is what you want, but just in a different way. You don't necessarily, the way Trump is approaching the wealthy obviously is not the way that Bernie Sanders would approach the wealthy. But before I get there, I want to show you these two different responses. So Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders responded to this Bill Gates quote, and it's very different. So first, here's Elizabeth Warren. "I'm always happy to meet with people, even if we have different views. Bill Gates, if we get the chance, I'd love to explain exactly how much you'd pay under my wealth tax. I promise it's not $100 billion. Now, look, if there was not another candidate in the race that has a much better response to this, you may think, oh, look, she's being kind. She just wants to meet with Bill Gates. They want to talk it out. And once she explains to him how the wealth tax works, well, he'll be perfectly open to it and everything. That's not how this works. Billionaires like Bill Gates didn't get to where they are by playing nice. They accumulated the wealth they have because they changed the rules in their favor. Bill Gates has a bought Congress, has campaign finance laws that work in his favor, has a taxation system that works in his favor, healthcare that works in his favor, labor laws that work in his favor, environmental laws that work in his favor. The entire system is designed around the wealthy. You do not simply sit down with a billionaire and work it out. That's not what's going to happen. Now, I get the inclination to want to do that, to think, well, if we're all just kind to each other, we all just talk it out. Well, I mean, kind people that may have policy disagreements they'll be able to come together and agree on a set of policy priorities that will move the country forward for everybody. No, this is a fight over power. Right now, a few people at the top, including Bill Gates, have all the power, while everybody else is fighting over scraps. You do not win this fight simply by playing nice with those few at the top. So, to show you the opposite side, or the opposite reaction to this Bill Gates, to Bill Gates' comments here, look at what Bernie said, and in your mind, compare this to what Warren just said. So Bernie Sanders tweeted out in response to Bill Gates, Say Bill Gates was actually taxed $100 billion. We could end homelessness and provide safe drinking water to everyone in this country. Bill would still be a multi-billionaire. Our message: the billionaire class cannot have it all when so many have so little. This is how you fight power. Bernie is actually willing and eager to challenge power. Again, this is a fight. This political fight is about power. Do you want a few people at the top to continue hoarding all the wealth and power, or do you want that distributed among the people? Bernie Sanders is willing to have that fight. He's not going to sit down with Bill Gates and work it out. That's not what's going to happen. Bernie Sanders is a representation of the people. He has built this grassroots movement based on that idea. He will be the person in the White House that will use the functions he has as president, or use the mechanisms he has as president to get things done within the walls of Washington, while encouraging and engaging a movement outside the walls of Washington to put pressure on politicians in Congress to change things. That's how this works. So clearly from these two tweets, I see one person who's going to sit down with a billionaire and talk it out, and somebody who doesn't care what the billionaire thinks and knows what actually needs to be done and will fight for it. You decide who actually represents you.